welcome to the Albanach Knitter. My name is Andrew Clark and I am the chief knitter here on this little channel. This is my little corner of the internet where I share with you my knitting activities and a few other things as well, and also just some of life here on the beautiful Isle of Arran off the west coast of Scotland. A especially warm welcome to those of you who are joining today who have become subscribers to the channel over the last 4 weeks or so. Not so long ago I decided that I would take up the advice of one of my viewers and post some old episodes, and so I put up I think it was episode 4 again, Neolithic knitting, and as it did last time, the internet and the YouTube algorithms seem to really like that video. And so many of you have clicked that subscribe button. So an especially warm welcome to you, and of course welcome back to all of you who have watched before. It's so good to see you again. Well, things are starting to turn here in the Isle of Arran. Autumn is slowly coming towards us. We're starting to see a little bit of red and yellow and brown on some of the trees. The weather has been gorgeous, but it's starting to get darker in the evenings, that sort of thing. So it does mean that knitting season is well and truly on its way once again. Although I've been managing to knit over the summer with various things going on, I haven't had as much knitting time as I would like, but I do like to keep on knitting away. So welcome to this episode, which I've entitled Knitting in Tenerife. The reasons for that will soon become very clear. So let's get on with it. Now, as many of you realise, Mrs. Clark and I, this year, are celebrating our silver wedding anniversary. Believe it or not, we've been married for 25 years. I'm only 28. I don't know how that happened. But yes, 25 years, and we had decided early on in the year that we had to do something to celebrate this event. So we decided the best thing we could do is abandon our children and our dog and head off to somewhere. We weren't particularly fussy where. Somewhere where we could just enjoy a week of each other's company and just celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary. So on the internet we got, and we ended up heading off to Tenerife, which, if you don't know, is part of Spain, a Spanish island, the Canary Islands, and they are located about 80 to 100 kilometers off the northwest coast of Africa. So it felt like a very long way, although it's still, part of Europe, of course. It was about a 5-hour flight from here in Scotland. We flew from Edinburgh and off we went. I had been to Tenerife, a long time ago, 1994, with my granny. So it was lovely to go back there again and see how that country that island has grown and developed, and to explore a little bit more of it, because last time I went, we only did sort of, beach stuff and all that kind of thing, but we managed to really explore some beautiful parts of Tenerife. And so a little bit later on, I'm going to show you just a few snips of all that we saw. Well, not all that we saw, but a few bits and pieces here and there. I didn't take a huge amount of video, but there's some lovely pictures that I thought you might like to see. And so that's that. But one of the reasons I'm starting with that is because, as you can see, I'm knitting away here in my own particular style, which is a very slow sort of European, sort of English, British, UK style knitting. I'm a thrower. And as I've said many times before, I'm perfectly content and happy with my nice slow pace of knitting. I don't knit to win any prizes. I knit because I enjoy it and I like the end product. But this particular thing I'm knitting here, this thing, you think it was a creature from the deep lagoon? No, it's not a thing. It is actually a sock. I'm calling these, although it's based on a pattern by the Crazy Sock Lady, which is Magic Loop socks. So I'm knitting these Magic Loop. I'm calling these particular socks my Tenerife socks. Okay, my Tenerife socks. Now let me first talk to you about the wool, because as you can see, this wool is a lovely, there's you go, my favourite word, lovely. It's a lovely wool by a group of folks called Pigment and Ply. I can't remember too much about them, but I picked up this wool several years ago at the Knitting and Stitching show held in the Alexandra Palace just outside London. And I've already made a pair of socks for my father using this yarn, but I had two skeins of it, and decided that because I was looking for something to take to Tenerife with me, I didn't want to take the big Guernsey jersey sweater thing that I'm knitting because, you know, heat, sunshine, airplane, hand luggage, all that sort of thing. So I thought, it has to be socks, it has to be socks. So I took along the yarn, cast it on when I was on the train heading towards the airport, and this is what I was working on when now, of course, I didn't get that much knitting done, but I did get some done, and I did get some done sitting by the pool. So I'm very pleased with that. So for that reason, these are called my Tenerife socks. Now, I've done a few things with this that I haven't done before. Primarily in the region of the heel. Now, I don't know how much of this you'll be able to see on the camera, but you may be able to see there's a little bit of a different texture here. That is because I have tried the Eye of Partridge heel on this sock. I do usually find that, not just with knitted socks, but with all socks in general, that the heels can wear out. I think it's, you know, I think maybe as men treat our socks particularly badly. They've got some heavy duty business to carry me around all the places I go. So I thought I would try this Eye of Partridge heel flap. And basically what you do is you start off, obviously, when you get to the bit for the heel flap, you start with knit one, slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one, slip one, etc., etc., etc. And then you purl all the way back. And then on the next row, you do 2 knits at the beginning, and then you slip. So it's an alternate thing going on. So you end up with this sort of slightly offset pattern. And I wish you could see it better than that, but as you can see, it's quite nice. And what it does is, because of the slips and the all that sort of thing, you get a thicker texture there on the heel. So I was very pleased with that. Also pleased was I with the process of turning the heel. I think you can just about see that. You can't see it great, but you know, you can get the idea. There you go. I was very pleased with that. I think this is maybe the second or third time I've tried the pattern from the Crazy Sock Lady for Magic Loop socks. And I've been very pleased with it because the patterns I've done before, when I've done socks that have heel flapping gusset, when I've been using Magic Loop, have really been patterns that were designed for knitting with 4 double-pointed needles. And as you know, double-pointed needles and I do not get on very well. So I was glad to find a pattern that I could do with that. Now, as you see, this sock is not finished, and of course I haven't done the second one. So in spite of the fact that the vast majority of these socks are going to be knitted in Scotland, these are going to be called the Tenerife socks. Now, as I was saying, the yarn by Pigment and Ply. It's a lovely merino base yarn with a little bit of nylon. It is superwash. And this is in the colourway they called Claude Monet, which, you know, and I'm sure you can sort of get why that is. It's when it all knits up together, it has that beautiful appearance of, you know, some sort of whatever kind of mode of paintings that Claude Monet happened to do. You can tell me what style he painted in. I have no idea. So there we are. That has been pretty much the sole content of my knitting over the summer. But I have to say, it's been very leisurely, but I have enjoyed it very much. Now, another thing that I haven't been able to do very much lately is get down to my knitting group, although I did manage to go this week. And the reason for that is, as some of you know, again, I'm in the process of doing some doctoral studies. And I had a 25-page paper to write when I came back from holiday. So a lot of time has gone into that. And it's been a great time of the year to do it because life in general is a little bit more slow paced at the moment. With it being the summer, a lot of my regular activities aren't on. So I've taken the opportunity to get the advance on the old studies, as well as, picking up the knitting needles now and again. There's been other things happening on the island as well. We have a few big events here on the island which are very important for the island as far as tourism is concerned, but also great events for the local community. So in the first week in August we have what's called the Arran Agricultural Show, and that's where all the local farming community, bring their animals and their tractors and their various bits and bobs, and various competitions and local charities and organisations have stalls and there's crafts to buy. And I was there this year with the brass band. I lead our local Arran Brass, which is one of my little hobbies on the side. And we had a great time there playing for the crowds. And then the following Saturday, we had Brodick Highland Games. Brodick is the village I live in here on the island. It's the village where the ferry comes in. So it's one of our main villages. And as you can imagine, that's a day full of, bagpipes and throwing stuff, basically, as I've said to you before. Highland Games are basically seeing how far you can chuck stuff. Capers and shot puts and hammers and people and all sorts of things being thrown. So that was a great day, and at that I was there with the church. We have a little stall there with some games just to be at the local community, just to be a part of the celebrations, and so that was fantastic. So it's been very eventful. We've had a few events on up at Sannox Christian Centre. Last weekend, all the artist studios on the island, they open up their studios and you can go around and visit. You can see some amazing sculptors and carvers and painters and, you name it, we've got it here on the island. But up at Sannox, we put on some local exhibition space for some local artists who've got some links with Sannox. And as well as that, we run some children's arts and crafts activities. So that was a great weekend as well, much enjoyed by everyone who was involved. So yeah, a fun summer of activity. Now, here's one of the things that I tried recently. It's a completely different tangent to what I was just talking about. And I wonder if any of you have ever done this. One of the things that I have become aware of, like everyone's become aware of AI, haven't you? You all know about AI. And one of the things that I had an idea to do was, I wonder if AI can produce a knitting pattern. Okay, so here's what I was thinking. Can AI produce a knitting pattern? Now, I was thinking to myself, if AI can produce a knitting pattern, what is really at stake? What is really going on there? Where is AI getting its information from to produce a knitting pattern from my specifications? So we have to recognize that, as with everything AI, especially with AI and things like art and writing and creative productivity and all that sort of thing, it has to get its information from somewhere. It's being fed data from probably its searches on the internet, etc., etc., etc. So recognizing that there's some artistic and, protecting people's, artistic process and all that sort of stuff, I wondered, can AI produce a simple knitting pattern? I thought I would try that first. And then I thought I would try and see if it can produce something a little bit more technical. So here's what I thought. I went on to AI, I think it was GPT or whatever it's called, and I said, can you produce for me a knitting pattern for a necktie, okay? A standard gentleman's or lady's necktie, using 2.5 millimeter needles and stocking or sock weight yarn. Sorry, not stocking weight, sock weight yarn or fingering weight yarn. And I have to say to you, when I did that, the results that are produced were very interesting. And as I say, goodness knows where it's getting that. Goodness knows where it's getting that from, how it's pulling that together. Because you have to remember that these programs are not intelligence systems in the way that you and I think of intelligence. They're basically language systems. So they're trawling loads of data to pull things together. So as I say, copying from what's already out there on the internet, maybe free, maybe not, and that's part of the ethical issue, I think. But anyway, it did produce what looked like a reasonably decent attempt at a necktie pattern, not complicated, you have to admit, with various options. So it gives you obviously the amount of yarn that you need, the needles you need, various measurements for a standard size of necktie. It starts at the bottom of the necktie where it's sort of it gives this sort of pointed V, so it's not a thin strip. So it starts with something like 4 stitches and then it increases, and then you go for the length of the tie, and then as you get to the top, it gives you instructions to decrease. It gives you various patterns that you can do. It was in stockinette. It gives you options for rib, which would be interesting. It also gives you some instructions for the options of putting a garter edge around the edge of the tie, which again would also be interesting. And it even goes as far to suggest that when you've finished it and you've blocked it, you might want to sew a piece of fabric on the end, which would give it a little bit of structure, etc., etc. So what I thought I would do, seeing as I'm almost finished this sock, and I will cast on another sock, I think I am going to trial this knitted necktie and just see what kind of results it can produce. And then after it has done that, I thought I would try and see if it can produce something more technical. Like in every area of life, we all have to get to the grips of what is eventually going to be something that becomes prominent in every area of our life. And so I want to see in the future of knitting patterns, what place is AI going to have? Are there any particular things that we're going to notice if AI has produced a knitting pattern? Are we going to be able to be pleased with the results? Is it going to be at all useful? Or is that ethical question always going to be hanging over? Anyway, that was just a mad tangential thought that I had, and I'll keep you up to date with how that all goes. If you're interested in that, well, that's fine. If you're not, you can just slip past those sections, but we'll see what it produces. Hopefully by the time we come to the next episode. Well, next thing I want to talk to you about is our little holiday. As I said, I've got some footage that I'm going to show you in just a few moments of the time that we had there. However, there was one really lovely, there it is again. For those of you who don't know, lovely is the word that comes up so many times in my podcast you would not believe. I try and find other words, but lovely is the default word. There we go, we just have to live with it. Anyway, I digress once again. Back to Tenerife as a part of the Gran Canarian Islands, and we were mooching about as you do, and just happened to discover that the week that we had arrived was quite a big week. It was a week where the folks on the Canary Islands were celebrating a Marian festival, so a religious festival related to the Virgin Mary. And as part of this, there was loads of cultural events, lots of people around playing traditional music, traditional dances, and of course traditional folk costumes. Now on the first day, the first full day we were there, we saw a nice group that were playing and singing in the main square, which was just lovely to see. However, it was when maybe 5 or 6 days later, towards the end of our time, we were in the main city of Tenerife, which is Santa Cruz de la Tenerife or something like that. And we were just looking for something to do. It was hot, so we sat down in the shade in the square, waiting for these traditional musicians and dancers and singers to come on again. And while we were waiting, I saw this. Now on the screen, I have just put a picture of the feet or the legs of some of the gentlemen who were wearing the traditional Gran Canarian folk costume. Those of you who watch Aaron and Carlos will know that they've busily made some of their own folk costumes, but which didn't include any knitting apart from the special socks that they made. Now, Norway is a long way away from Gran Canaria, but imagine my surprise when I saw that in Gran Canaria, a place where the average sort of summer temperature is 26, 27, 28 degrees, that the national costume, the island costume, traditional costume, had these sort of, what would you call them, gaiters, and knitted gaiters. And they were gaiters that had cable patterns up and down. Some of them were plain. Some of them were in brown and darker coloured wools. Some were in sort of creamy, sort of natural cream white wools. And I was just surprised to find them because, you know, it's not the kind of place where you think, oh yeah, I know what I need. I need warm, woolly things on my legs. But of course, we all know that wool isn't just a case of keeping you warm. It also has properties of keeping cool and regulating temperature as well. So in a sense, it's not that much of a surprise. And I guess it's probably going to be cooler, possibly, than having leather all the way up your legs. I imagine that perhaps these costumes came from a sort of Argarian, what's the word? People who do farming stuff, kind of culture. And so it might have been to protect, you know, the lower part of the legs. And I don't know what the exact origins are, but it was just lovely to see these. And you know, and absolutely great to see the dances. It looked like so much fun, so much joy on most of the faces of the people who were dancing. Quite a mixture of ages, and just really lifted that whole time when we were sitting listening to that. So here's a little bit of that, and see if you can spot the smilers, see if you can spot the frowners, see if you can spot the people who are very much concentrating on the dancing, and I'll be back with you in just a few moments. There you go, wasn't that fun? And I hope you enjoyed a little bit of music there, a little bit of Gran Canarian culture. It really was such a delight. And I don't know if you'd ever got sight of much of those gaiters while they were dancing, but it was so beautiful. Now, I know the next question you're going to ask me is, did I manage to go to any wool shops on Tenerife? Well, the answer to that is no, I didn't. It's very difficult to get yourself into the pattern of shifting to a very different way of structuring your day. And what I found was that pretty much all the wool shops that I managed to track down using, our dear friend Google, most of the shops were open from sort of 9 o'clock in the morning and were closing sort of 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And so because of that, of course, for, siesta time, because it's hot, you go home and have a leisurely lunch and you might have a little snooze and get out the blazing sunshine. And then some businesses open up again in the evenings, but the wool shops didn't seem to open very much in the evenings. So it just so happened that I didn't manage to get to any of the wool shops. Isn't that just terrible? But in terms of, I did manage to peek into a few windows and it didn't seem like there was a huge amount of necessarily local wool, so I don't get the impression that there's a huge amount of wool made locally, either on the Canary Islands or perhaps in Spain. I might be wrong there, but it seemed to be more commercial yarns that I could see through the windows of these shops, but there were a number of wool shops, and I have to say, Mrs. Clark tried very hard to drag me to a wool shop, but I was on holiday, so I was trying to take it easy. So no, I didn't get any footage from any of the wool shops. I am very, very sorry about that, but I'm sure that if you want to go to any of the Canary Islands on holiday, I'm sure there are loads of lovely wool shops that you can look at. So, in terms of other news, well, not entirely different news, but other holiday news. As I say, I did manage to get some knitting done. And here is a little clip with some photos of Andrew Clark sitting by the pool with his shirt and his hat on, covered by an umbrella, knitting away like an absolute dafty. So there you go. This very sock being knitted by the lovely Lido, the local authority, Municipal Lido. Absolutely great. Nice place to spend the day. And that day was a day which will be remembered for a very long time, because in spite of the fact that I was sitting under a sun umbrella, that I was wearing Factor 50 sun cream lotion on all the bits that mattered, my poor feet got burnt to a sizzle, even through the sun canopy and even through the sun screen. My poor feet. But they now look nice and tan. They no longer look like pieces of red meat. They now look as if they've wandered through a dirty field. so that's my story. That's my story. So I did some knitting on holiday, but I did most of my knitting, I have to say, when I was away, when I was on that 5-hour flight, when we were waiting in airports and trains and ferries and taxis, and it's a fair trek. But all in all, we did enjoy it, and we're now just enjoying the happy memories of having had a lovely 25th wedding anniversary holiday. Our actual wedding anniversary isn't until Tuesday coming. That's Tuesday the 26th of August. There you go, I remember the date of my anniversary. And so we're just going to have a simple meal, probably with the family, and celebrate that way on the actual day. But as Mrs. Clark is a school teacher and she is now back at school, there wasn't going to be the option of knitting on the brain, of going on holiday when the schools had gone back. Now, there's a few interesting things happening in the next few weeks here for me, and the first of those is that on the last weekend of August, it's time for the Scottish Yarn Festival. Again, taking place this year in Perth, but in a different location from last year. So I've got my ticket and I've got my podcaster lanyard at the ready, and I think Mrs. Clark is coming along for the fun of it. And so I'll be up there, hopefully showing you a few of the delights of the Scottish Yarn Festival. And we'll see if we can get any interviews in. I can't promise anything because it's generally quite a busy day for folks, and so we'll see what happens. And because I have to be back home here for Sunday because of work, we're heading off on Friday, a week today actually. I'm recording on a Friday. Heading off there a week on Friday, getting the ferry over, staying in Perth overnight on the Friday, and then heading along to the yarn show on Saturday for a good bit of the day, but having to leave early so that I can be back down in Ayrshire to get the ferry home so that we can get back for my work on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to taking you there and showing you that again. It really is worth, if you're coming to Scotland for a visit, or if you're coming to visit us here in Arran or anywhere else, try and fit in the dates so that you can come for the Scottish Wool Festival, Yarn Festival. It really is a great little event, and they have a number of workshops that take place over the 2 days, the Saturday and the Sunday, but you do have to book those in advance. The event tends to be either towards the end of August or the first week in September each year. They also have another event, which is a Yarn Producers Showcase, which is held in sort of March time, which is also worth going to, although it's smaller. And I've been to both of those, and if you look at my past episodes, you'll probably be able to catch a little bit of those. So that's not this weekend coming, but next weekend, and I'm really looking forward to that. And if you do see me, please do say hello. I'm fairly shy and retiring when I'm out and about in public, so you'll have to say hello and put me out of my misery, and it will be great to talk to you if I see you out and about. The other thing that's coming up, of course, is that in the second weekend of, what's that month? September, which is coming up, I think it's the 5th to the 7th of September, we have our, how many is it? Our fourth or fifth Sannox Stitches knitting retreat. If you don't know, I am involved in leading and organising a retreat centre, lovely little retreat centre here in the Isle of Arran. I'll put some pictures up for you to see in case you haven't seen it before. So I'm involved as a trustee up there, and I'm also the ministry team leader. I arrange the retreat programme, and for the last couple of years we've had some really great, well, in my mind, great opportunities to come together for a few days, knit, enjoy each other's company, and folks have come from all over the place, from other parts of Europe, other parts of the UK, Canada, United States of America, Australia, and they've come over to knit at Sannox for a few days, and they've been really great events, and I've really enjoyed meeting you and spending time with you, and feel that I've made some friends, so that's been really, really nice. And we have our next one coming up in that first weekend in September, so 5th to 7th. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't usually film too much of that because I'm too busy knitting and chatting and all the things that go on. But there may be some updates about that in the next episode. But just to say also, we have our dates for the Sannox Stitches knitting retreats in 2026, just organised, and I'll put them on the screen here. We've got a few days in March 2026 and a few days again, a few longer retreat in September 2026. So here's a chance to start thinking about all the logistics of coming to the Isle of Arran, meeting with us and knitting with us, and an opportunity to come and visit Sannox. We're a Christian retreat centre, and there is an optional come along and be a part of the sort of gentle rhythm of prayer, and that's an option that's there for you, but it's by no means something that you have to do. We just want to make the space available for you to come and visit this beautiful island, bring your knitting, see some new places, meet some new people, some new crafters, and just enjoy yourself. And if you want to take part in anything else, that's lovely too. You're very welcome to sit in and or sit out of any of that. But it would be lovely to see those of you who are hoping to come and visit us here on the Isle of Arran sometime soon. Well, friends, that's just about it for now. It's been great to catch up with you again, and I hope you enjoyed the little pieces of footage from Tenerife and a few life updates and your progress on the old sock here. I think I'm probably getting to the stage where I'm ready for some toes for this bad boy. So I better stop knitting and get concentrated on the toes for this. But it's been so lovely to see you again. Welcome to those of you who have recently subscribed. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, go down there and click on the subscribe button, click the like button for the video, and that sends it out to more people. Comment, tell us what you've done with your holidays, your summer holiday or your winter holiday or whatever season it is for you. Just helps us to get the videos out there to share with more folks and bring more people in. And there's a surprising number of you who watch the videos who don't click that subscribe button. So go for it. Just click away. It's free for you, and it's great to have you as part of the Albanach Knitter clan here on YouTube. So for now, folks, Marshall Levendrasta, agus Bianach Jagut. Take care for now. Goodbye, and God bless you. Bye.